Good morning, everyone. Are you able to hear me? Just give me a thumbs up. Someone on the panel. Okay, great, good. Good morning, and it is my pleasure and honor to be with you this morning. Uh, I'm coming to you to talk a little bit about the whole recruitment effort in terms of this day and time. The last panelist, I came in on the tail end of that, but they talked about changing the rules of the road. And I'm here to tell you that the rules have already changed. And here is how you're going to go about in terms of recruiting for the future. So the whole pandemic has really opened up a lot for our economy, as well as for our entire workforce. Please keep in mind there are a lot of bad things that happened from the pandemic, but there's also a lot of good that's happened from the pandemic. And it is the fact that employees have thought not just about the work itself, but they've also began taking care of their well-being. And so before we were totally concentrated on work, meeting those goals and meeting the numbers, but employees are saying, hold it. It's not so much about meeting those numbers. It's also very important that I take care of myself as a person. And well-being is the number one key that employees are looking for. Gallup recently did a study about employee engagement. And they said that less than a third of the workforce are engaged in their work, not fully engaged, just engaged in their work. And what does it mean for us as leaders in the workplace? What does it mean for us in terms of having employees engaged? Well, I'm going to give you a few pointers, whether you are a small business, whether you're a large business, whether it's government, academia, whatever type, nonprofit organizations. These are the rules that really guide us in terms of recruiting qualified and that talented workforce for the future. So the first thing is you have to have good leadership yourself, good governance within your own organization. You need to make sure that all of your leaders, your managers, anyone in a supervisory position is committed, and committed not just to getting the work done, meeting that bottom line, but is committed to the well-being, the personal and professional development for their employees. And that means you must make sure, if you're the owner of the business, that you put the right persons in management and directorships within your organization. It is no longer a good practice to put the person who has the most technical experience into the job. You need to make sure that even if they're technically competent or they're the best worker, that you also have to make sure that they have those management skills that are necessary. Are they a good team leader? It is not nice. It is not just a nice thing to do. You have to make sure that all of your team leaders are not just concentrated on the task, meeting those goals and objectives, but they also are extremely committed and devoted to those employees in terms of their personal, professional development and well-being. So putting the right persons into leadership jobs is important. The second thing is, before you begin developing those engagement tactics and programs for your employees, the second thing is you need to make sure you survey your employees, finding out what they want and what they need. That is really important. And once you find out what they need by doing a survey, then have focus groups and basically make sure that you are staying on point to the needs and demands of your employees. It is a buyer's market. It is no longer a seller's market. It is a buyer's market out there. And those focus groups are not something you should just do one time. You have to continuously market and survey your employees. If you're large enough to have a change management team, use them in terms of getting that information and that data back to you. If you're not, then sometimes if you're a small business, that may mean that you will have to do that walk around and talking to your employees, finding out really what is most important to them. The third thing is flexibility. You must be flexible. I cannot emphasize that enough. You must be flexible and you must have an adaptable work environment. It is imperative in terms of moving forward. So the rules have changed and the rules are constantly changing. It is not the same workplace that we left back in 2019. And so by flexibility, I mean, you find out from your employees what they want and what they need. A client of mine came to me and said, I'm having a hard time recruiting for this position. It's a regional director position. It's been open for 6 months and I don't understand it. The salary is $150,000 or more plus bonus, and I can't find any candidates who want the job. And so I began asking them about this job, what's wrong, what the tasks, the duties and responsibilities. And then I said, does this job require traveling? And they said, oh yes, that's a must. They have to go from this state, and they named the territory. And I said, there's your problem right there. That job in 2019 or 2018 would have been fine. You would have gotten tons of candidates for that job, as you know that they had. But now you're not going to find people who are going to want to do that traveling. People have been working on Zoom for the past 2 years and had been meeting their goals and objectives. And so now the requirement is of coming back to the workplace, doing that kind of travel, they're not willing to do that. And so I got my client to be flexible enough to change their territory so that they could, that regional director position could then just travel and have one-day travel trips and be back to see their family and have evenings with their families and not have to worry about being constantly on the road, staying in a hotel, that type of thing. That changed that job. And that's what I mean about flexibility. What you have in terms of that job position in 2019 is no longer going to be applicable in many cases for 2022 and beyond. So being flexible, still getting the work done, but being flexible in terms of the job and the requirements that are needed for the jobs. The fourth thing rather, is the hybrid work environment. Do you have a hybrid work environment? For the past 2 years, people have been used to working through Zoom and are not used to being in the office. I do understand that it is important for a lot of positions, and especially for those jobs that have high personal contact. It is important, but you need to be flexible. Some of my clients, the bank that I used to work for, one of the things we did was set up a hybrid work environment where persons had to come in 2 days a week, and then the other 3 days are flexible, that they can choose whether to work at home or work in the office. They chose one day as a collaboration day where everyone is in the office that day. So you know, and you can prepare in advance for that. Be flexible for your hours. It is no longer necessary to do work from 9 to 5. We didn't do that working through hybrid and through Zoom for the past 2 years. Make your work hours flexible. Give them a 12-hour shift in which to do the work. That also helps persons who want to spend time, especially the single mother who wants to spend time taking their children to school and picking them back up from school, and who might be willing after dinner to get back online and continue the work that they need to do. So making your work hours flexible, making the jobs itself in terms of the position and responsibilities flexible is extremely important in terms of that hybrid work environment. Give people that flexibility to get the work done, but also that flexibility for that work-life balance and that personal and professional time that they definitely need. Fifth thing, take care of your issues. When you have an employee who is the bad apple and not getting the work done and, creating havoc among the team members, you need to still take issue with that person, because remember, that one person is going to affect the other team members. So you still have to continue along with your disciplining and correcting. Naturally get in as the team leader, coach that employee, trying to get them to meet your standards and to be engaged within the work environment. But if you find that they're not and they're being disruptive to others, you need to make sure that you find a way to exit them and to move on if they are not meeting the standards for the job. You don't want one employee to affect other members of the team. Sixth thing, take advantage of the mature workplace. Martha just said, I retired after many years of human resources. I am not the only one who is still out there and fully engaged doing work. Many others are fully engaged. They don't necessarily want a 40-hour work week any longer, but take advantage of them. Your mature employees who may have left your organization may be willing to come back to work for a particular project or work for a particular assignment. They are your ambassadors for your organization. Use them in certain capacities where there's a project or a task or assignment that can be done on a short-term basis. Or maybe just to come in to help in to fill in. One of the things I did during the pandemic is I used our retirees who would come in, help with a project. They were engaged for that period of time and then they moved back on. Take advantage of that available workforce that may help you out, especially in times of crisis where you just need help for a particular period of time. There is no cradle to grave employment anymore. People don't stay, 30 some years on a particular job any longer. So you need to be flexible in terms of meeting the needs of the workers today and finding out what really helps them in terms of staying engaged. So that's the mature workers. But then there's also another worker, and that is your younger workers. Younger workers want engagement. They want to feel like they are contributing to the mission of an organization. And the new term is gig employment. And what that means is they come in, they know that there is a specific project that they're going to be working on. And they may commit to you for a 2 to 3 year period. And they will work on that particular project because they are learning to develop and grow within their skill areas. And then after that 3-year project, then they'll come back and you can negotiate with them. Can we have you work on another technical project for us? Or what would keep you engaged to stay working for us longer? Sometimes they may say, thank you, I've learned enough in this project. Now I want to move on to another organization, or I'm going back to school to get my master's degree. Gig employment is really going to be the way of the future. A lot of people don't want to feel they've got to stay one place for a long period of time. But they also want and have an expectation that they will meet that deliverable for you as the employer, but they're also expecting for you as the employer to meet their deliverables. And that is, what are you going to provide for me, Mr. Employer, in terms of my personal growth and my professional growth and development? So they're going to expect you to give back to them, to increase their skill level, to help them in terms of management skills or whatever personal and professional development skills that they're looking for. And then they will in turn meet your needs by accomplishing those deliverables that they have promised. The other thing that I noticed, the seventh thing, is I've noticed that during this pandemic, a lot of small employers are saying, we can't recruit people the way we used to for certain jobs. So we're going to go out and offer training programs, helping to develop people that we know in the community are very good with certain particular skills. So in the bank, we lost in one of our areas a very valuable employee who had been with us for about 10 years. She was an administrative assistant, doing very well. And she probably would have stayed, for a long period of time, but it was limited growth opportunity. And that was the fault of the bank, that we didn't engage her in other areas. And she got a job recently as a grant writer, working for a small nonprofit organization. Certainly not a job she might have gotten in 2018 and 2019. But what happened is people realized, hey, this is a good employee. She's certainly been loyal to the bank. What if we we will help her to develop and grow her skills in a new area that she probably wouldn't get normally, in terms of she did not have the skills necessary as a grant writer, but we will train her in terms of helping her grow and develop in terms of a new skill area. And that worked. And we lost employees at the bank too, who decided, I want to go into a new area. They'd worked in banking for a number of years and they went into hospital administration. No experience in that, but people saw, here's a good worker. They saw their resume, here's a good worker. Let's promote them and give them an opportunity for growth and development. And we'll give them the technical, the professional skills that they need. We'll guide them, providing them training programs to help them with those skills that they will need for our jobs. That is extremely important because smaller employers are realizing if you want to get good talent, you've got to be more flexible, but you've got to provide them those particular skills and areas for development. So you will help them in terms of creating that new career or new opportunity for themselves. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the quiet quitter. And that is not anything new, but we're noticing it more during this, after the pandemic. And that is people have decided, I'm going to come in and I will do the job that is on the job description. But that other duties as assigned, not doing that. I'm going to commit to just what you have on that job description. I'm going to give you a full 40 hours a week, and I will do the things that are on the job description, but going above and beyond, staying 60 and 70 hours work a week, I'm not doing that. I will just commit to the 40 hours a week. That is not unusual. And it is really getting to be a trend. And it was certainly, you had the quiet quitters before, but now you will see that that quiet quitting has sort of become a way of life. During that pandemic, people got used to taking that time and having that extra time to be with family and to be with friends and taking care of their well-being. They're no longer going to be willing to work that 60 or 70-hour work week any longer. Not to mention the fact that if you do expect them to do that, they're going to be expecting to be paid for their extra additional time on there. That is going to be the norm, is that they're expecting professional development, personal development, and they're also expecting a reasonable work, and that you care for them, not just as a worker, but you care for them in terms of that personal and professional well-being. So in summary, I'm not sure if I'm hitting my 5.5 minute time frame, but I just in summary, want to make sure that everyone understands is the work environment has changed. It is a new work environment, but it is things that people have found that has really helped them. That personal and professional well-being, that you have to be flexible in terms of the work environment, and you have to provide them the skills in terms of developing themselves professionally as well as personally. You cannot just care that I get the work done, but you have to care for me as a person. And that's what the new human resources is all about.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Michelle. Just wanted to
Thank you.
say something. The work that she's doing in consulting around both um, ends of the spectrum, Gen X and Gen Y, plus the older worker. I'm somewhere between 40 and 80, and I can really relate to the older worker piece of it. But really important, you see a lot of people like Serena Williams, they're all saying, I'm not really retiring, I'm just going to evolve into a different version of myself. The Cape, our median age, you heard Alyssa say this, is something like 56 years old. The United States is 38 and Massachusetts is 39. Think about those older workers here on the Cape. Okay, thank you so much. Our next presenter, Myran Janov.
Hi, everybody. I see that my husband and I are the only ones wearing masks.